Hi, everyone. In this episode, I get to have a conversation with Ebony and Donald, a couple who have navigated the complex journey of infertility to expand their family through egg donation. Ebony had a tubal ligation after her second child and believed that her family was complete. However, after meeting Donald and deciding to grow their family, they faced the challenge of using her own eggs. But with unwavering support from family, friends, and their faith, they explored the path of egg donation. We get to hear about how Ebony and Donald share their experiences of selecting a donor, the emotional ups and downs of the process, and the joy of welcoming their son Graham into the world. You won't want to miss their powerful story of perseverance, love, and the unyielding belief that no dream is too big when it comes to growing your happy family. Enjoy! Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all of the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello. I'm so excited to hear about your story with your sweet boys and just all of the things. So I know so egg donation is the route that we went, but you had Roman, of course, your sweet little 8-year-old, but just tell me, just how did we get here?
Okay, so I was a little older when I had Roman, 39 at the time, and thought I was done having children.
Yeah.
So I had a tubal ligation. I was like, oh, it's great. I have
one and done. He's gorgeous. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have an older son who was actually like in his first year of college when Roman was born. So I was kind of like, okay, like we're done.
We're done. Yeah.
And then Donald and I, we met, we had this whirlwind romance, dated for several years, and we started talking about having more children. Of course, like naturally, I couldn't do that. And so we went and got a consultation with my OBGYN who referred us to our current IVF doctor. He talked about the possibilities, went through a lot of testing. They're like, yeah, you're good. You can carry and, we'll try to use your own eggs and all that good stuff. And so after multiple times of trying to use my own eggs, we ran into some struggles with them not taking it. It was just heartbreaking. Like, you go through this cycle, you put your body through all of these things, you get hopeful, and then you get that call 10 days later that the pregnancy test didn't take. And so after like the third time, I was just kind of like, okay, like I can't do it anymore. I think it was really hard on my husband, Donald. And it's just like, it's like you're losing like a part of yourself. And the third time that we tried, he pretty much put all of the eggs that were healthy enough in there. I think it was like what, 6? Like,
oh my gosh.
Eggs. He was like,
which
okay,
like they don't do that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Had they done that with this one, we'd probably have like 10 kids right now.
15.
16. Yeah, we had 16 babies go around. But yeah, like I was like, oh my gosh. So I just was kind of at a place where we had to talk and like, okay, if it doesn't work, like, are we good? Like maybe we adopt or, I don't really know. It was like physically and emotionally and mentally, I could not take another, it didn't work. It didn't take. And that's pretty much what happened that third time. My egg supply was depleted at that point.
Right.
And so then He talked to me about egg donor like possibilities and just like the success rate and what that looks like when you go with a donor versus using
Sure.
your own eggs. And it's a little bit more of a, it's not 100%, but it's a better probability going that
Mm-hmm.
way. And
Mm-hmm.
so we started the process. And then yeah, so that's how we ended up with you.
Yeah. Okay. So going back a little bit, I mean, you had two successful pregnancies, have these amazing children, and now all of a sudden you're thrown into this whole whirlwind of, like you said, just that heartbreaking, just all of that is happening. How did you navigate that as you guys were going through that together?
I mean, I guess I'll speak today. I think it was, I mean, it was a lot of faith-based, just actions, right?
Yeah.
Having to understand that, I had a vision or a promise, that we were going to have a son, and to just keep walking through that, right? We
Mm.
had some issues with some of our, uh, what would you call them, donors, right? Before, and it was just it was something that, whatever you want, isn't that's good isn't always easy, if that makes sense,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
So
no,
we had to
absolutely.
kind of walk through those disappointments as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was definitely something that we did together. And there's some hard times as well. It wasn't always
Mhm.
easy, raindrops and lollipops, but we're here now. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so you we go through the heartache of, just, hey, the original route that we were wanting to take is just, it's not going to be possible, but we have that vision, we have that promise, and we want to move forward. And now you're with egg donation. What were your thoughts on even just first hearing that as a possibility? And then how did you guys decide that you were ready, you were going to continue to move forward?
For me, it was, I was kind of going through these emotional like ebbs and flows of, I
Absolutely.
understood how important it was for Donald to try to have a child, even though like, I had conceived through prior relationships and things like that. And
Hmm.
I recognized that that was important, right? And so like I was also going through this thing where it's like I can't give this man like what he really truly desires in the marriage. And quite frankly, I was afraid that, if this was unsuccessful, that, maybe our marriage wouldn't make it. I don't like, I didn't think
Mm,
he would leave, but it was just kind of like, how when you start dating somebody and you talk about like your non-negotiables, and when he
sure.
was like, yeah, I want to have another baby. And I was kind of like, run now. Like, no. And here we are,
And here we
right.
are.
You still landed me. So with that being said, it was kind of exciting because it was like, this is how I explained it to like friends and family. So, when you finally have that conversation with, okay, we're doing this, but this is how we're going to do it. My
Absolutely.
mom was kind of like, so you're using somebody else's egg and like, how does that work? And you're going to carry the baby and that's weird. And
Sure.
you're not going to have any like DNA connection to it. Like it was all these like questions. My mom is very old school. It didn't like register. And so then I started thinking about some of the questions that I was getting. But then I was kind of excited when we first made, introduction with a couple of people on your team, very welcoming and helpful, and just kind of talked us through the
Yeah.
process of, okay, like this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. And just was very on top of the communication. But the really cool thing
Mm.
was, it's like they gave us this accessibility to this link, and it's kind of like Facebook for egg donors. It's kind of
Yep.
crazy, right? So like you go in there and you see like people and pictures and you don't have names, which kind of like with Facebook, you don't know if it's a real person or not. It's whatever. But
Sure.
it's kind of cool because they have like
catfish.
numbers, right? But then like you
Hmm.
could kind of, you could do all these things, you could sort by height or weight or whatever. And you could look, it was so like, it was a lot, but it was kind of like, oh, cool. Like you can actually like pick,
Yes.
who you want. And then the other cool part was just kind of the historic of Were they first time donors or not? What was the success like or not? You had medical history, so if they had prior children, so like there was things that would help you feel a little bit more comfortable as you're making the decision.
Absolutely.
And so what was so interesting about Donald and I is like he had his link, I had my link.
Uh-huh.
And without talking to each other, we each picked top 3. So we didn't talk. He went through, he chose his top 3. I went through, I chose my top 3, and then we started having conversations. And 2 of the top 3 we both had were the same.
I love it.
Yeah, nobody's gonna look like her, but they had to get close.
There you go. Okay, so yeah, that was some of your priorities. The more that I talk to intended parents that have gone through the egg donation, route, everybody has kind of those like, you're not necessarily going to find your twin, but maybe there's other things, and just all of that. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys found your top 2, and that's great that you had the experience of just of having that guidance when you first came to egg donor and surrogate solutions, because I feel like you said, you had all of those emotional ebbs and flows, you had those big highs and those low lows, and then to finally come to a conclusion that, hey, this is how we're gonna move forward with growing our family, and then to have almost go from a very kind of uncontrollable situation to having a little, not only guidance, but then, like you said, you got to go through that database and you were like, yeah, I get to, like, you were excited, you got to pick, you were pumped.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's actually something that I didn't really think about when we were going through this at first, like, the whole donor part, right? Kind of knew that there was going to be a possibility, but then you start getting to the realization that you got to pick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was an interesting conversation, but it was cool.
Absolutely. Okay, so Ebony, to go back to what you were saying, you were kind of, as you're, talking to your family and friends and, trying to explain, what you guys are going to do. What did that process look like as far as your support system and explaining it to people and, explaining it to Roman and, just things like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So with my family, my mom, my brother, like they were like, I mean, it's cool, but like we don't get it. Like we don't understand.
Sure.
My brother who has like a tribe of children, I'm like, but for a man, it's like it's easy, right? Like you just make the kid, like, okay, great. But for a woman, it's just different in terms of what we have to
Yeah.
go through, especially like with me being a little bit older and things like that. So we were having conversations. Donald's parents were also very involved. My family lives out of state, so they're not like, we're all very, very close and tight knit, but like having
They're just
those
not there.
conversations. Yeah, like I'm talking to my mom on the phone or we're FaceTiming or whatever. Same thing with my brother. My in-laws live locally to us, so we had a lot of like conversations at the table. They were very supportive. There's also like a financial piece of this too, where you have to get prepared financially to make these decisions, and hopefully, it works, because it's pretty pricey, to go through, but it's worth every drop, right? But yeah, like we were just very direct and honest about like where we were. So I kind of had to explain, what some of the issues were in terms of us not being able to use my own eggs, why we were going through the process the way in which we were. There were some timing concerns. My big goal was I did not want to be giving birth to a child at 50. Like I just wasn't going to do that.
Right.
Now I'm going to have a toddler at 50, but I'm not going to be giving birth at 50. And
look, there's a difference. There's a difference.
Yes, absolutely. And then the other part is like, after I have the baby, I get a mommy makeover as the push present. Like, so it's like a whole thing.
I love it.
I'm going to snap back for real. Like I'm, Dr. O or whoever, whatever.
I love it. Yes.
So it was just really just open dialogue. And just, there were questions and we were answering those questions as we knew them. And as we were going through different appointments with the IVF doctors, we were, like he had to go get sperm tested, and they had to test me and make sure like everything was good. We were giving every update as we could. And so it got more exciting for them, because it was like a milestone that we were hitting, right? Like we finally selected. So we had selected our first donor. Very successful, beautiful young lady, had, I don't know, 4 or 5 successes ahead of ours. So we felt very confident in utilizing her. And then something happened and we had to select a second donor. And so, like, as devastated as I was in that moment, because I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again, right?
Yeah.
It's not even my eggs now, like it's something else, like, oh, right. And so what brought me comfort was that we had a top 3. So I was like, okay, well, donor 1's not available. Let's go to donor 2. And it wasn't
Sure.
because that person was less qualified. It just, like, I don't know, they hadn't had like this person that we ended up choosing. We are their first success.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool in that way, because I'm like, if it works, then they then become an experienced donor. Like, so I was looking at it from a win-win. The other thing that I want to point out in this too is, as we were making the selections, this particular donor wrote a letter in terms of why she was going to be a donor. And, you know, it just touched me in terms of, you know, she was in college and there was things that she was trying to accomplish, but she was very adamant in helping families achieve their dreams who couldn't do it the natural way. And so she wrote a letter to the intended parents, and we have that letter, and it means so much, because it kind of like solidified, like, okay, like, we're doing this person wants to do this, they want to, like, help complete families. And so it worked out very, very well.
Yes. Well, and it puts, you know, like you said, when you first are getting on that database, you're not seeing names, you're seeing numbers, and it puts a personality behind that number. You get to hear directly from them. And I mean, to have that letter is just, it's so beautiful and part of Graham's story.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. So you had that kind of up, down again in this process. And then, you know, but then how was the cycle as a whole?
Rough.
Well, for who?
For everybody.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on now.
Yeah, like, I mean, yes, it was because maybe folks don't know, but ultimately, like, once you select the donor, then there's a part that they do in terms of, like, getting prepared to
they have to do a medical screening process, and there's a psychological evaluation, and there's legal, and there's all kinds of steps. Just because you pick doesn't mean that it's like, okay, great, let's go get eggs tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it took some months, like, from there. And I think that's what also helped me feel more comfortable, because I was getting a lot of updates. Okay, like, here's where we are. This is what's going to happen next. Okay, now you're going to go to legal. You're going to sign documents. The donor's going to sign. Then they're going to go do the stuff with the doctor. Like, so, like you said, there were things that had to happen, but we looked at those as, like, milestones. And again, as we're, like, updating family and friends, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating.
Yeah.
And then there was the egg retrieval. And so that was kind of cool, because the IVF facility would keep us updated. Okay, we've done it. It's, you know, we've got what we need, and we'll get you some results. And I mean, it was just everything was pretty positive out of that. But to answer your question, the cycle itself, I mean, it seemed like it was forever. But while the donor was doing her thing, I was also doing my thing.
Right.
And what I mean by that is I'm giving myself shots every day, or Donald's having to give me shots to get me prepared for, you know, a nice little cocoon for the little egg to grow in.
Right.
And so just basically helping my body prepare to accept the egg once the transfer happened. So that was, it was interesting, because you had to do it at the same time every day, like, how, like, 3 months or something like that.
The amount of traffic rules I broke to get home.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So not only are you navigating, like, hey, I'm getting my body prepared, but you're also, I mean, you're banking on the fact that it's gonna work. Like, and you're navigating all of that as well. How did you guys just handle all of those emotions during all of that, and breaking traffic rules, and keeping family up to date. And I mean, it's a big process all happening at once.
Yeah, not to include that we're newlyweds with a young boy, right? So we already have Roman in the mix. I think that was just a lot of leaning on your community, right? And leaning on the help that we have. They say it takes a village, so we enacted our village to say, hey man, we need some help over here. I learned two things from my parents. One, don't mess up your blessings, right? So if somebody wants to bless you, accept it. And two, always have faith. So that's kind of what we were at.
Oh, I love that. So ultimately she had a successful egg retrieval, and then Ebony, you were good to go?
I was good to go. It was, I know, because of course, so there was a small snafu, like a tiny snafu.
Mm-hmm.
And they found like a polyp. So before they do any egg transfer, they just go in and they look to make sure the uterus looks good, everything's good. And my doctor found a polyp. And this was like, he was going to do the retrieval like the next day. And he was like, look, I see this polyp here. My recommendation is that we remove it so that everything's like, we could put it in, but typically the polyp will push the egg out, will push the embryo out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want that
Nope.
because then you're going to miscarry. It's the whole thing. Now he goes, it's not a guarantee that you would miscarry, but there could be complications. And I'd feel better if we, basically got everything removed.
Sure.
So that was like in the summer of last year, like June sometime. He got me into surgery like within a week.
Oh my gosh.
And did everything. And then after my July menstrual cycle, we did a retrieval. And I was pregnant by August. It was like that 10 days of waiting. And you know what is so crazy about all of this when I think back is there was not one time that I didn't think this was going to work this time. I don't know what it was about this time, but I was just kind of like, we're good. Like whatever the doctor needs me to do, I'm going to do because this is going to work and it's going to work and it's going to work and it's going to work. And there were a lot of bumps even after like the pregnancy test came back. And then it was like, okay, for 3 months, you're basically like bedridden, no stress, don't do anything, keep your legs in the air, whatever it is that you got to do to make sure that that egg sticks. And I did all of those things. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And I did all of those things.
The first story I've gotten.
And it's recorded. It's recorded right here.
Thank you. Go ahead, babe.
So yeah. So after that, it was just kind of smooth sailing. But what I think what was super great about all of this is that our IVF doctor, he and his wife had fertility issues. And so that's what encouraged him to actually become a fertility doctor, because he and his wife had struggles and their one and only child is through IVF. Yeah. So I just felt like he understood and he got me. His wife, who was also a doctor, I felt like super connected, and any recommendations that I asked him about, he was just very open and transparent about, like the recommendations and what we should do. And he's like, I can put the baby in now, and I know you're kind of wanting to do it, but I think we need to, in order to really truly make sure that we have the best chance for success, let's have this surgery.
Right.
And I did it, bada boom. 30 days later, we did a transfer. And yeah, like August 7th or 8th or something like that, we got the call that we were pregnant.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And then the journey really began.
Right. And then the journey really began. Oh my goodness. So just thinking back on all of that, again, like it's not a guarantee. There are all of those bumps. Like, thank God you had that support system.
For sure. I couldn't have made it without it. I mean, there were plenty of nights where I cried and like I would just hold on to him and I'd be like, oh my God. And he's like, it's fine. we're going to continue to, I think for Donald, he was like the strength that I needed, because he had to keep reminding me, you're a faithful person, this is going to work, like just keep leaning in on your faith and don't let those negative doubts creep in. And so that really helped me too, because he was so strong. And I'm sure that there were moments where he was probably alone going, oh my God, I just want my wife to be okay. And he never showed any, like, he
didn't
wasn't
waver.
scared. Like, I never saw it. Like, and if he was, he never showed that to me. He was just very strong in all of this. So
Shout out to Papa D for that one.
I was going to say, what was your support system while you're being Ebony's, Donald? What was your support system where you were able to continue to be that strength for her?
I think, I have an uncle in Philadelphia who's like my older twin. So I talk to him a lot about stuff. And then, our church pastor, he was pretty supportive as well. I just think I had a feeling like this is gonna be fine. So I wasn't really stressed about too much. Now I had to dip, dodge, and dive some bullets from my wife over here.
Oh sure.
There's
I was gonna say there's a lot of science happening in her body all at once. Yeah.
And I had to remember that she was going through a lot. So that always kept me grounded, right?
Yeah.
Because there's times when I didn't want to remember that at all. And then for all the dads out there, pause when agitated.
This is good advice. This is good advice. That's just good advice for anybody.
A little bit. If you tell her I can't talk to you right now, I'm going to like walk outside and then I'm going to come back in and she's going to be mad, but it'll be way better than what you were going to say.
I love it. So, okay, going back to, you both have kept saying, Ebony, you said just at no point in time during your cycle for Graham did you think that it wasn't going to work, and you kept leaning on your faith. What made you just keep going forward? What made you sure after all of the ups and downs, after every snafu and roadblock? How did you navigate that? What made you just keep going?
I would say two things. So the first thing was, looking at Roman. The birthday before we started trying, he said the only thing he wanted for his birthday was an iPhone 13 and a baby brother.
Oh my God.
He got the iPhone 13 that year, and then the baby brother came in April of the following year. So he was like pretty pumped. But like it was just kind of like, for him, like he was so excited about, oh, it's working. So Roman was a big piece of it, even though he's only 8. And when he gets older, I will explain to him like what his faith and his like tenacity did in terms of helping us get to where we were. Because he was very like, mama's boy, let me help. Are you okay? Do you need anything?
Under the armpit.
Like, yeah, he was kind of like right there. Are you supposed to be eating that? The baby can't eat that.
Sweet protected brother.
Yeah, he was very like on top of things. And then the second thing was just kind of like, I could see the big picture, right? Like, I'm like, you went through all of these things. I would imagine myself holding a baby. Like I would literally put it in my mind, like, you're going to be holding a baby. So you're going through this now because you're going to be holding that precious baby if you just keep persevering through it. And that is how I made it. Of course, I was on my knees. I prayed a lot. I read my Bible a lot. If I had any like inclination of doubt, I would snap out of it going, no, like, you've gone this far. You've done too much to just start thinking negatively about what is or isn't going to happen. So get it together. Like I have a pep talk to myself.
I love
it. And that worked a lot. I literally would like look at myself in the mirror and be like, get it together, girl. Like, this is your baby. You got this. And it worked.
That's amazing. What would you say was maybe your biggest surprise as you were going through the journey as a whole, from just from the beginning? I mean, IVF through egg donation and, beyond. What would you say was maybe that biggest surprise?
Honestly, as many kind of bumps that we went through, like it was still relatively smooth, right? Like it was,
Yeah.
when I was thinking about the legal process, it was like, okay, we got the email from like Katie, and then she's like, okay, you're going to get this email from this company and they're going to talk to you and whatever. And like the email would come, then the company would reach out. Like everything that they said was going to happen happened when it was supposed to happen. I never once had to follow up. I never had to check in. I never had to be like, oh, like, where are we at with this? It was none of that. They were just very like, here's what's happening, here's what's going to happen. And then on top of that, they'd be like, okay, did the legal team reach out? Were your documents able to be signed? Even when we were putting together like the trust, right? So we had to put funds into a trust to make sure that the donor was paid and things like that. Like it was setting up the account was easy. Transferring the money from our account to that account, easy. Like it was just, I was shocked actually, because I was thinking, oh gosh, like, this legal process that's going to take a few weeks, like to read everything and to get everything signed. We literally had everything signed in like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It was just like, it was just very, I mean, just one of the smoothest processes I've ever gone through. I mean, I work in HR. I work with like legal things all day and a lot of complicated things. And like, it was so smooth. What about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I just knew it was gonna work. So
no surprise.
So the surprise was when he started moving in the belly. That was a surprise for me.
Oh, there you go.
I was like,
that's a happy surprise. Yes.
Yeah. And then like the responses of like the voice when I would say something, he'd like punch at the belly.
Oh,
so those are my surprises. The
I
actual
love
process.
that.
I wasn't so surprised about the hormone changes and all the other wonderful things that happened because we've gone through that before.
It's that beautiful part of pregnancy. Absolutely.
It is. It is. And then when they go away, it's even more beautiful, right?
Oh.
So, don't always do it. But yeah, I think it was like the birth process was my surprise.
Ebony, I love what you said about, because even though you did have those bumps and snafus, you had that team, you had your coordinator, you had, your clinic, you had your attorney, like you had all of those people there, to where the snafus that kind of can naturally come with an egg donation, just situation, you didn't have all of the other stuff to worry about. And I love that you had that experience, because that it can be so overwhelming. Like you said, the legal stuff and just, all of that, and making sure people are talking to each other. And it sounds like you didn't have to worry about that at all.
Nothing. I mean, even like my medical records, I mean, everybody, my OBG and the IVF doctor were constantly in communication. Egg Donor Solution was in contact with like the coordinator at the IVF office. They were obviously talking to the donor. It was just
all of
so
that.
smooth. I couldn't even believe it. I mean, it was that's how smooth it was. I was just like, wow, like, and he would even be like, are we done? Like, is there anything else we do? I'm like, no, we're done. We signed everything. Everything's good. And then to the point where even like the transfer, right? Like we were in there, I don't know, 30 minutes. I mean, the longest was to get me prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time the transfer happened and came out, it was like 32 minutes or something like that. And he was like, that's it? Like, did they use the right sperm? I'm like,
I think so. They should. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. So what would you say, just to any potential intended parents and egg donors that are out there? What was maybe, just some of the advice that you would give as they're kind of discerning if this is the right path for them, or if they're even in the middle of it? What would be some of that advice you would give them?
Keep the end in mind.
That's really good.
That would be my advice. Keep the end in mind. There's always a light there, even though that tunnel can get pretty dark and windy. You're gonna have to see where that little glimmer is. So just keep following the light, you'll get there.
Yeah. That vision, holding that baby, that vision.
Yep. For donors, right? Like, thank you. Because I know that to even do that, for whatever the reason is, it could be a financial decision. It could be, this is something that I just want to do. I want to help families have families, which is that we got so lucky, right? Like, but I want to thank the donors, because I know that that's a huge decision, for whatever the reason you're doing it. So I want to thank them, because without them, there obviously would be a lot of incomplete families. And then for intended parents, just trust the process, because there were times where I was like, okay, like it was going so well. Like I was kind of like, ooh, like, like
We're used to chaos. Like, where's the chaos?
Yes. And so
Where's the snafu?
Yeah, like trusting the process. It will come. And again, it didn't happen for us the first time. So it might take you more than one time. So if you're willing, just if that's what you really truly dream of, don't stop chasing your dream. For however you need to get it. It is worth it. It is absolutely worth it.
And for dads, find a stress relief that's not bad.
There you go. Find a stress release. Yes. You got to have that support. You've got to have that system for sure. Now that you are post-delivery and sweet Graham is here, you've just, you that dream is there. You're holding that precious baby. How, as you're looking to, just move forward and explain his story, and, what is contact like with your donor? What does that look like for you and your family?
We kept it open.
Yeah.
So like if he ever wants to know like who she is, we're like open to that. We didn't like close that door. We also we sent information through like a sibling registry too. So like if because you don't know, right? Like there could be some crazy medical thing and he needs a kidney and none of us match or something. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. All the things.
So it's kind of those things. I lead a life of transparency. And so I don't ever want Graham to not know who he is or where he comes from. Yeah. And so, yes, he was in my womb. Yes, all of those things. But like, technically, like my DNA is not there. However, and this is something that I had, this is something that I had to like come to the realization of. And my OBG actually helped me with this, because he's like, there's no way you could carry a baby and they're feeding off of you and they're growing through you, that there's nothing there. And so my OBG was like, yeah, there's connection. There is definitely connection there. Like it, there may not be like a similar blood type or something like that, but because that baby, grows and develops through you after, implanting, you're a part of that child, very much so. So I had to like keep that in mind, because I was like, it's technically not me, right? Like, but I had to like, that was kind of a struggle for me. Like I was kind of like, like it's not really mine, but it is, but it's not like, and so I had to get past that. And so it's, and I'm going to be very honest with Graham about all of it, because he's so special. And it's almost like when you look at him, he feels that. I mean, he's accomplishing, he's doing things at such an early age. It's like he's destined to be here, and he can feel that too, just the way in which he interacts and how he is. I mean, his aura is just like overwhelming. Like it's this huge, just
love.
I don't know, like
it's a love aura.
Right? Like,
everybody wants to touch him.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he was so wanted. So wanted.
Black water.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Ebony, wait, to go back to what you were saying, kind of, because I know that is a concern for, a lot of moms whenever, egg donation becomes the reality and they're kind of figuring out, how am I going to feel connected to this child? How did you kind of come to terms with that? Was it during the egg donation process? Was it during pregnancy? Like, how did you, just come to terms with all of that?
For me, it was once I realized I was pregnant. Like up to that point, it to be honest, it was very transactional. Like even
Sure.
though there was a personal element and our team was great, it was like we were just kind of doing the stuff. Like
Sure.
you're in the kitchen preparing like to make the meal, and then like it doesn't really register until the meal is being served, right? So then I was like, okay, like when I got the positive, because even once we got the test and he was like, yes, it's positive, I was going in like every other day and they were checking like my AMR levels and making sure like those things were increasing. And that basically showed that the success of the pregnancy was getting better and better because those hormones, those levels were increasing at every blood draw. And then I was getting ultrasounds like every 2 days. And so once I was pregnant is when the rubber kind of hit the road for me. But what truly I was like, whoo, is like when I got through that first trimester, because that was the one where it was still very,
touch and
anything
go.
could happen. You
Sure.
could miscarry, you could like, so of course I was keeping my stress level down or whatever. But when we got, I was going through, there's a lot of appointments that you're going to go through that first 3 months.
Yeah.
And once we got past the first trimester, I was like, all right, we're smooth sailing from here. Like, this is my kid.
I love it.
We got this. Like,
yes.
And it was just a whole different, type of energy came over me. And of course, when you're in your second trimester too, it's just, you kind of get through all the nausea and like all the things. So
you feel way
it felt
better.
like I was born again, but he was mine. I was like, this is my baby. Like, we're good. We got this. Like, okay, baby, and anytime I felt off or I didn't feel well, I would just put my hand on my belly and I'd be like, all right, baby Graham, like, okay, we're going to get through this. It's okay. Mama's here. And like, I don't know, like I just started bonding with him and we are very close.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got another mama's boy.
Oh man. Yeah. Boy, does he be mama.
I will walk into a room and he will lock eyes with me and he will not take his eyes off of me and if I'm out of the room, he's kind of.
I'll talk
silly. You're his first true love. I love it. Right. Oh my God.
I know it's not going to be good enough for him either, so watch out.
I love it though. I mean, I love the fact that, I really appreciate how honest you are because, it sounds like you guys, like you said, you were going through the steps. It was a means to an end. It was a process. Mm-hmm. You had to check all of these boxes. And when you're doing that, there's not really a whole lot of time to kind of, especially whenever it's not a guarantee, right? Like you don't want to go there emotionally. And so, and even in that first trimester, it's like, it's still, like you said, it's still not a guarantee. We're still having to go to these appointments. We're still having to check those boxes. And, for you to finally have that joy and that sweet hand on your belly and, just all of that, that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to realize that feelings weren't facts, right? So it's like whenever we were feeling something, it wasn't a factual thing that was happening. So, you feel that distress or you feel that anxiety or you feel that, oh man, is this going to work? It's not a fact, right? Because the fact is, it's still in process. So, that's one of the things that I had to remember for myself is, I feel a little bit of anxious, a little bit of like, what's happening here? But I had to realize it's not a fact. The fact is he's still in there. So, and now he's here.
And now he's here. I love that. Okay. So my final question to you guys, and it's a fun one. For anyone who knows me, they know I have a very codependent relationship on coffee. And I know with your beautiful, almost 5-month-old, that you guys also have a dependent relationship on coffee right now. But I always like to ask the question, what filled your cup today? Literally or figuratively, what was the thing that filled your cup?
I'll let wife go first. I know what mine is.
Well, one, just I knew what today was, right? Like we were preparing to have this conversation and I look at that baby every morning And it just gives me such joy, but it was different today because I was like, I'm kind of telling part of his story of how he got here. And I just like, I literally picked him up. I got a little teary eyed and I was just like, thank you, God. Like, thank you. Because he's here and he's perfect. I mean, there is like literally nothing wrong with him. I mean, and he was born early. So, like, he's perfect in every way. And I was just like, thank you, God. Like, I get to like actually tell others how we got here, and it's a miracle. He's here. Thank you. So that's what did it for me, is just like knowing that I was chosen to be his mom, and like God saw it through all the way.
I love that.
Yeah, mine is catching a smile from my kid. So if I catch a smile from him, that fills my cup. You know, he smiles at mom every time he sees her. Me, he's got to look around. He's like, oh, okay, it's you. All right, how you doing? So yeah, but that's my deal with his gums.
I love it. Well, Ebony and Donald, I appreciate the fact that you were willing to tell Graham's story and being vulnerable about the process. And I'm so glad that I get to talk to you on the other side, and your dreams have come true and you have this beautiful, happy family. And I'm just so grateful that you were willing to share your story. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
We'd be remiss if we didn't just thank everybody at the EDS team, because without y'all, like this would not have happened. I mean, it's just, again, I get overwhelmed because it's just like, wow. Y'all's team is the best team, and
thank you.
They helped us through a lot. And so, like I said, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have
doing it without team.
Mother's Day. So
I love it. Well, I love that you had that team and that support, whether it was EDS or your family, your village, all of that. And I'm glad we get to be a part of your village.
Thank you.
We are too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Me, You, and Who. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways that you can stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. And for more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Create a Happy Family. If you're interested in finding out more about creating a happy family, please visit us at www.createahappyfamily.com. Thank you again for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. I can't wait for you to join us next time as we continue to share stories and journeys of creating happy families.